Hi guys, welcome to the Art of Server. So today is an unboxing video. So a while ago Lenovo contacted me and asked me if I wanted to evaluate some of their products. Originally we were going to decide on a server to evaluate, but unfortunately they didn't have anything that would be suitable for my channel. And so after a little bit back and forth, I happened to recall that Lenovo is one of the few major brands to release a AMD ThreadRipper workstation machine. And so I inquired about the AMD ThreadRipper machines, and they sent me this machine today. So we're going to do an unboxing of this. Now, unfortunately, I don't actually know what spec they provided in this machine. So, you know, I kind of doubt that it'll be the high-end spec, but it can go from anywhere from the high end of 64 cores down to 32, 16, and 12 cores. So we're going to find out what we actually have, but I doubt it's going to be the 64 core, but I'll be pleasantly surprised if that's actually what they sent me. All right, so as you can see, this is the Lenovo ThinkStation P620, and there's the AMD logo. So this is the ThreadRipper machine. And let's go ahead and open this guy up and see what we got in here. All right, so we have a letter from Lenovo. I'll put that aside. A box with some items in it. It looks like a power cord and a mouse. So we'll use that later when we set this up. Looks like there's another box. Looks probably a keyboard. So we'll take a look at that later on. All right, let's see if I can pull this guy out. All right. All right, get the foam bits off. All right, put the foam aside. And obviously this, I think, is an eval unit they've been sending around to various people. So it looks like somebody's already opened this before. Let's see. All right, so it looks like this side is the top. So let me flip it over. All right, there we go. So that's the ThinkStation P620 AMD ThreadRipper Pro, and it looks like they included a optical drive and memory card reader module here. There is a empty 5¼ bay here, and some USB-C and USB ports, power button. All right, let's take a look at the back side. All right, so standard I/O panel at the top. So the power supply is actually down here by the bottom. There's a key to lock the chassis, I'm guessing. There's some sort of graphics card in here. I don't really know what that is yet. Doesn't appear to have anything else. These are, I think, just blanks. Now, Lenovo does offer some accessories to this, such as a quad M.2 adapter card. If you really want super fast storage, you could get that option. There are some other things too, but it doesn't look like that's included. Let's go ahead and open this guy up and see what's on the inside. Oh, that's interesting. So check this out. To open this panel, there's kind of this push thing and it just smoothly comes out. So that's kind of cool. I suppose you lift it. All right, so let me put the panel aside here. So it looks like we have an RTX 8000 in here. So that's a fairly high-end graphics card. We have, what is this? This almost looks like two heat sinks, but this should be a single socket machine. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see. I might tear this down a little later and just see what kind of setup they have here for the CPU cooling. The hard drive bays are here. Now I only see two bays. So these are plastic trays that come out. So toolless, so that's kind of nice. You can just basically snap these onto your hard drives and slide this in. Now I thought there was more bays than this, so maybe there's another module you can add here for additional hard drives, but right now there doesn't appear to be anything in here. And I'm kind of curious if there's even a boot drive in here. I don't really see anything right now. Is there an M.2 module on the motherboard somewhere? You know, I don't see anything. So I'm kind of curious how, if this has anything already installed. It doesn't look like there's any storage that I can see right now. But all right, we'll keep looking around and see what we find. This appears to be the power supply. It looks like it's a modular power supply. Does this, yeah, okay, this pulls down and the power supply comes out. All right, so modular power supply, that's kind of nice. Now, this is nice in terms of maintenance and if you need to replace this module, but on the flip side, the drawback is that you can't really use a standard ATX power supply in here. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I'll put that back in. All right, let's flip this down its side and take a look from the top here. Okay, there's one chassis fan. Looks to be about maybe a 120 millimeter fan. Again, I think there should be another module here for adding two more hard drives, but I don't see that right now. And there are air shrouds for the memory modules. This just kind of comes up. So everything is kind of nicely spring-loaded. That's kind of nice. Although this air cooling shroud thing is not the most elegant design I've seen. All right, let's see, as far as the PCI slots are concerned, let's see, what is this? Okay, so this pulls up and opens and releases all the PCI slots. So it's a toolless design, which is kind of neat, instead of having to remove screws or anything like that. So this is, you know, I really like workstation class machines because there's just a lot more mechanical engineering put into these machines typically than your standard desktop. And so things like this just make it very kind of easy to maintain. Let me pull the graphics card out. So they provide a 6-pin and a 2+6-pin power for the graphics adapter. There's additional 6-pin here and another 6-pin, 6+2-pin down there. So there's additional power cables for additional GPU power if you had like a second GPU in here. Let's go ahead and remove this graphics card. Let's see, is there a latch? Yeah, there's a standard latch. Let me move this. Oh, okay. So I was trying to pull on this graphics card and it wasn't budging, but that's because this side here is locked in. So you have to release this in order for the card to be able to slide. Yeah, there we go. Now I can feel it moving. All right. Okay, it's loose now, except I've moved all these slot covers here, and I don't want those to fall on the motherboard, so let me just kind of remove them. All right, Quadro RTX 8000. Let me put that aside for now. Let's take a look at the motherboard here. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PCIe slots. These are Gen 4 PCIe slots. And it looks like we have 3 by 16 Gen 4. Is this also, let me remove that memory cooling shroud again. Yeah, okay, so there's a 4th one also by 16 Gen 4. And so there's plenty of room here for installing, say, 1, 2, 3 graphics cards. And I believe all these slots can handle 75 watts, or the by 16 slots. And then we have 2, this is a by 8 Gen 4, and this is also by 8 Gen 4. And these are open slots, so if you had to, you could install a card that's longer. You just won't get all the PCI lanes, but at least it would physically fit. So that's kind of nice that they have these slots already open for you. All right, so as far as storage, onboard storage, I don't really see, now I don't know what all these components are, but I don't really see anything. There's onboard SATA ports. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are in red, 1 that's black that has a eSATA label on it. I'm not really sure what that's about. And this is the USB 3 internal header that probably goes to the USB 3 ports at the front. An internal USB A port. That looks like, I don't know what that is actually. Yeah, but there's no onboard SAS controller that I can see. I'm kind of wondering what's underneath that heatsink. There's this red knob here. Let me turn it and see if, okay, so that releases something. This is, oh, there we go. Okay, so that releases the heatsink that covers the M.2 slots, and that's an interesting configuration. They have the M.2 slots extending beyond the motherboard, so I've never seen that before, but I guess that kind of saves you some motherboard real estate from basically not wasting real estate just to hold the other half of this M.2. So that is the only storage device that I see currently. So there are 2 M.2 storage slots. I would suspect that they are PCIe, and yeah, I guess there are no other holes for shorter ones, so you're gonna have to use this particular length. I think that's, what is that? That's the 2280 or the 2280, perhaps. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the 2280 size. And there's a heating a thermal pad on the bottom. There's thermal pads on the top. So that's kind of an interesting design. Never seen that before. All right, so how does this go back in? Press the red thing down, and do I just twist it? Okay. And what else is there? There's some sort of PCB board over here that is, looks like it's inserted into this connector to the motherboard. I don't really know exactly what that does. Is that maybe connecting to the, okay, the front I/O, so probably to the USB ports and the power button. And let me put this memory cooling thing. All right. So other than that, now there are 8 DIMM slots. So for the ThreadRipper architecture, I believe every DIMM is its own channel. And so this is an 8-channel system. And like I said, the processors that are available here go from the low end of 12 cores, 16 cores, 32 cores, and at the very high end, a 64-core ThreadRipper. And this does look like it's just a single socket, except that they have 2 massive heat sinks with 2 fans on top. All right, so that's all I can really see here that's of interest. Let's see, I see, what is this thing? So there's this lever. Okay, this looks like it releases the 5 1/4 inch bays. So if I press on this, I bet I can, yeah. So that releases these 5 1/4 inch bays, or locks it in place. And let's see, does this, how would you remove the empty I'm trying to see if I can remove the blank, and that doesn't seem to be obvious to me right now how to get the blank out. It looks like I have to remove this drive with the optical and memory card reader in order to get access to pull this out. So that's kind of not a great design necessarily for that. All right, so that's all I see for now. Now, compared to other workstations, normally I would see some sort of onboard SAS controller. Now, I know with modern machines, you know, people might go all NVMe, and the ThreadRipper platform definitely has a lot of PCIe lanes. So that may be the thinking in terms of how this was designed, was that basically you would go completely NVMe instead of any kind of legacy SAS or SATA type of storage. I can see that kind of approach, but it would have been nice to have some sort of SAS controller so that you can install some SAS or SATA hard drives for bulk storage, and also have your high-speed NVMe storage. So, and although there are trays for that, I think primarily, yeah, actually, if you look at the back of these, so there is no back plane or anything like that. So we're really just kind of cabling things like you would in a normal PC, versus kind of other workstations that have an actual back plane with cables from the back plane going to a, you know, some sort of SAS controller of sorts. I do like the fact that they included the cables for the GPU power. HP, for example, kind of is a little stingy about that. If you buy the HP workstation that has the lower wattage power supply, they don't install the extra cables for you. And anyway, I'm going to be making a video about that some other time too, on how to upgrade your HP workstation with a higher wattage power supply and install the additional cables that you need if you want more power to power some graphics cards or any other devices. Okay, so it's kind of nice that they actually already included. Yeah, so here are all the SATA cables. So they're really expecting you to, if you're adding any kind of bulk storage devices like hard drives, they're only expecting you to use, I think, SATA devices. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Some of the other workstations, although of course, you know, Lenovo is currently the only major brand that has a AMD ThreadRipper workstation, but the other brands that also produce high-end workstation machines usually have additional storage options, which I don't really see here. All right, so let me put everything back together, and I'll get on a monitor. We'll hook this guy up and power it on and see what we actually have in here from within the machine. All right, guys, so I've got everything hooked up. Here's the P620. I've got power to it, and I added my kilowatt, so we're going to be able to see how many watts this thing will draw. Got a Dell monitor here. That's all I have right now that's available. And here's the keyboard and mouse that came with the machine. One thing, no, it didn't include a mouse pad, so I got my Dell mouse pad out here. This mouse is a fairly cheap unit that it doesn't really work on any kind of surface, so I had to get a mouse pad for it. Now that's initial impression is, you know, these ThinkStations have the same kind of lineage as the ThinkPad laptops and basically all of former IBM's like hardware division. And if you guys know about ThinkPads, they're famous for their keyboards, right? I really wish Lenovo would have kind of taken advantage of that legacy and provided the ThinkPad keyboard that they released. They have a keyboard that you can buy, a USB keyboard, I think, that has the same keys as a ThinkPad. And so, you know, instead they kind of include this really cheap keyboard and mouse. So it's just, I know to some people that might not matter, but this is supposed to be one of their high-end products. Like if you fully kit this machine out on their website, it can add up to like 30 grand or more. And if you're going to be selling something of that caliber, you really should, you know, refine the details like the keyboard and the mouse. Include something that's worthy of buying a $30,000 machine. You know what I mean? So anyway, that was just kind of initial impressions as I was unpacking everything. So anyway, let's get started on turning on this machine. So here's the power button. Let's go. All right, so this is interesting. They have a little LED panel with numbers. I'm assuming those are the boot codes. That's actually kind of neat. I haven't seen that in any other machine before. I'm kind of, I think that maybe comes from their server division. I think the IBM servers also do that. The quality of the button, and I know this may not matter to most people, but the quality of the button is not so great. It didn't really feel like a nice touch. And again, I'm thinking of, this being a very high-end machine, and it's just really not giving off that impression right now. To me, honestly, it just says my opinion. All right, I held down the F1 button to get into the BIOS, the UEFI BIOS screen, and I'll tell you first initial impressions. And I think you guys can hear it in the video here, but this thing is really loud right now. And I'm hoping that that's going to change when we actually boot up in an operating system where there's more, I guess, power management kicks in. But right now, as you can hear this, I'm going to move the camera a little closer. I think it's going at full tilt. So I think that could use some refinement. I don't think that it needs to be running at full tilt just because I haven't booted an OS. And, certainly there are a lot of computers that don't do this. And so I would think they could do that. So that's another kind of refinement touch that I think maybe Lenovo can consider. But anyway, let's get into this machine here. So what am I looking at here? This is the main menu. We have System, Summary. Let's look at that. Oh wow, guys, look. We have the ThreadRipper Pro 3995WX. This is, in fact, the 64-core top-of-the-line processor for this machine. So yeah, thank you very much, Lenovo. You guys didn't cut any corners in sending this machine to me, so that's actually really cool. I really was thinking they would probably send me something in mid-range or low-range, but they kit this out with the top-of-the-line processor, so that's going to be kind of interesting to see. But all right, so one thing I noticed, and you guys might have seen this when we were looking inside the box, was that there were only 2 DIMMs in this machine. Out of an 8-channel architecture, there's basically just dual channel, and so we've only got 32 gigabytes of RAM here, and that shows right there. So, I don't think that's optimal, especially considering the architecture of Ryzen. It can probably benefit a lot from having multiple channels and more RAM. So especially with a 64-core processor, we're dealing with 32 gigs of RAM. That seems a little unbalanced there. All right, so what else do we have here? Audio. This just allows you to enable and disable some of the onboard features. The CPU fan just says it's operating. I wish they would tell me what RPM that was. That would have been nice. The M.2 drive that we saw in there earlier. So now I'm gonna have to look that up, but so it says MZVLB1T0HBLR. I have a suspicion that is the Samsung PM981A M.2 SSD, and if that's the case, that's really a shame, because although that's a very fast M.2 SSD, it's a PCIe Gen 3 model and not the newer PCIe Gen 4 model. And considering that this is the Ryzen with the PCIe Gen 4 support, I would think that you'd want to take advantage of that PCIe Gen 4 and get that. So, but we'll check that out just to double check. But I have a feeling that that's the Gen 3 one, not the Gen 4 one. All right, let's scroll down and see what else we see here. Other PCIe drives, I'm not really sure what. I guess, maybe if you add in the M.2 quad card, this might show some additional stuff there, but right now it's showing none. And then the stuff that's connected to the SATA ports on the motherboard, it's just the SSD. There are no hard drives or anything else, no traditional storage in there right now. So yeah, this just kind of rubs in the fact that there really isn't a lot of storage options. Like even for PCIe drives, other than adding like the M.2 quad card or any other kind of PCIe card, considering the number of lanes, like basically this ThreadRipper Pro is kind of like their AMD's EPIC server processors turned into a workstation processor. And I believe it can support the 128 PCIe lanes, right? And that's just totally awesome, except that, I'm not seeing those 128 PCIe lanes being utilized in this system. If you count, I think, what was it? We saw 4 by 16 PCIe slots and 2 by 8. So that's 5 times 16, basically, I think. And so that comes out to 80 PCIe lanes being used by the PCIe slots, which leaves on the table 48 other lanes, right? And the M.2 each will take 4. So what is that? 48 minus 8, right? So that's 40. I think there's about 40 PCIe lanes left on the table here not being used. And so even if you don't want to go with like traditional storage with SATA or SAS, I mean, at least like turn those 40 lanes into a U.2 connection for some U.2 drives, right? Or something like that. But anyway, the more I think about the storage expandability of this box, that is the one thing that's really kind of bugging me right now as I'm evaluating this machine and looking at it. So, all right, let's go to back system time and dates. I don't think there's anything that interesting here. You can change the language and all that stuff. All right, let's go to device menu. And we have USB setup. This is probably not that interesting, but I guess you can probably enable, disable some USB ports. I know some corporations that are very security conscious are very nervous about having external USB ports enabled, because that's kind of one of the ways people deliver malware to a system, and they like to kind of disable that kind of stuff. So I think you can do that. That's kind of nice. Various other USB port settings, USB 3.2, so that's the 10 gigabit USB 3, I believe, right? All right, so let's go back. ATA drive support. Again, this is just the SATA controller on board. I guess you can enable or disable it. Various, so it's got SATA 1 through 5. SATA 6 was the eSATA. You know, I don't really understand why that's eSATA when it's internal. Like, you know, maybe there's a connector that puts that into an external connection. I don't understand that. And I guess you can enable hot plug. So I guess, yeah, if you used it as an eSATA, you can do hot plugging, perhaps. I don't know. I don't really understand that. Okay, so you can do RAID mode on the SATA, I guess. That's all right. And then hard disk pre-delay. So I guess this can delay some of the initialization to kind of reduce power draw. Oh, talking about power draw, let's take a look. So this thing is running the fans at full tilt. I don't think it's running the CPU at full tilt, and we're looking at, wow, 214. Can you guys read that? Hopefully you can read that. 214 watts. So this is, yeah, that's quite a bit of power. But again, this is the 64 core, 128 thread processor in a single socket. All right, so let me go out of this menu, NVMe setup. All right, let's take a look at that. Okay, I guess you can turn on NVMe RAID. So maybe you can like do RAID 0, RAID 1 on those two M.2 NVMe slots, perhaps. There's only one NVMe or M.2 drive, so I guess that's just disabled right now. Video setup. What is this set? Okay, so I guess you can pick which slot has the primary video device when you have multiple graphics cards. Right now there's only one, so I guess that's auto is fine. Audio setup. Okay, it just allows you to disable or enable the audio, onboard audio. Network setup. All right, so again, just allows you to enable, disable. Supports PXE booting and supports HTTPS booting, I guess. I don't really know much about that feature, but it sounds interesting. But I'm more used to the traditional kind of PXE booting stuff. But okay, let's get out of this. And yeah, that's pretty much it under devices. Let's go to the advanced menu. Hopefully there's something interesting here. Okay, so we got diagnostics, real-time diagnostic monitoring. Okay, so, and then we can clear the logs. All right, so there's just some onboard diagnostic stuff. All right, PCIe configuration. All right, that's going to be interesting. Let's take a look at that. All right, so we've got SRIOV support, ASPM support. That's cool. I don't know what this is. Extended synchronization pattern. I don't know. If anybody knows what this means, leave a comment down in the video. All right, but okay, this is what I'm kind of interested in. This should support PCIe bifurcation. I want to see if they support it on all the slots. So yeah, definitely. Okay, so we got PCIe port bifurcation here. So that's kind of a cool feature to know that it supports. Yep. So this is the by 16 slot. You can split it by 8s or by 4 or 4x4s. So that's kind of neat. And it also has an auto. So I guess in auto mode, it tries to auto configure itself. We're gonna have to test that out. I don't have the Lenovo M.2 quad card that they're mentioning here, and I don't know if there's some special magic on it that allows it to kind of auto negotiate. I do have a Gigabyte kind of a generic one, so I want to see if it can auto negotiate just using a generic card, or if there's some kind of special circuitry built into their card that allows the auto thing to work. That would be interesting to test out. Link speeds. So yeah, Gen 1 through 4, right? So yeah, Gen 4 there. That's pretty awesome stuff if you can take advantage of that. All right, so that's the first PCI slot. Let's see if, wait, where are we here? All right, let's go down here. Let's see if the second slot, yeah, also supports bifurcation. This is the by 8 slot, and we can split it to 2x4. So yeah, definitely looks like PCIe bifurcation supported on at least the first 2 slots. I'm going to assume that's going to be supported on all the other slots here. Okay, this is another by 16 slot. Definitely, again, we can support the bifurcation on that. On the 4th one as well, same thing. And on the 5th, same thing. On the last 6, yeah, and that was a by 8 slot. So we have by 8 or 2x4. So that's really cool. That way we can actually make use of all the PCI lanes on this machine. Again, like that's one of the really attractive features about this platform is the PCI Gen 4 support and the number of PCI lanes available on this machine. And I'm glad to see that bifurcation is supported on all the PCI slots, so that you can get devices that actually fully make use of all those PCI lanes. I just wish they added some additional connectors for like U.2 drives, so you could actually use the remaining 40 PCI lanes or whatever for some U.2 drives for storage. Alright, so this doesn't really give you any options other than enabling, disabling, and link speed here. So it doesn't really say what speed it's linking at. Again, I kind of am curious if that SSD is linking at Gen 3 or Gen 4 speeds. I suspect it's going to be Gen 3. Alright, same thing. This slot's empty, so there's probably nothing that interesting. Alright, anyway, that's actually kind of cool to know that PCIe bifurcation is supported on all the slots. Let's go back to CPU configuration. Alright, so yeah, look at that L3 cache, 256 megabytes. I mean, I remember way back when computers, like the entire computer had 256 megabytes or less. So to think that that's now just the level 3 cache in the processor alone is pretty awesome. Alright, so SMT support, secure virtual machine. So I guess it's just some features to address security, IOMMU, memory guard. Not really sure what that's about. I don't really know some of these technologies. Core performance boost mode. Okay, that sounds like something I should enable, so it's enabled. That's good. And then various power states support. Okay, let's go back out of here. RAS configuration. So I don't really know what this is. Post-package repair? Yeah, I'm not really sure. The memory scrubbing features, okay, and then data scrambling for security. Common ref code configuration. Don't really know what that's about necessarily. If anybody knows what this is about, leave a comment down in the video. And dash configuration. Yeah, again, I have no idea what this is. Just enable or disable. I don't know what this is. Again, if anybody knows what this is, would you leave a comment and help us out here? Okay, so let's go. That's the end of the advanced menu. Let's go into power. All right, so power state after loss, enhance power saving mode. Got that enabled. Fan control steppings. Okay, so We have 7 levels of fan control here, from lower fan speed to higher fan speed. Although, I mean, again, this thing is just really loud right now. So I don't know that that's kicking in, but maybe it'll kick in when we boot an operating system. But I think there's something they can do better with that. Wake on LAN stuff. All right, so I don't know. That doesn't sound too interesting to me, so I'm just gonna get out of that. Security. Now keep in mind, this is a workstation for an enterprise environment, and you know, in those type of environments, security is really important. You know, there could be a lot of intellectual property on these workstations, and so you want to make sure that those computers that are holding that, you know, very valuable intellectual property is protected. And yeah, you can see there's all sorts of security features with password protection and trusted computing stuff and CompuTrace, secure boot, all sorts of, you know, tamper detection. So yeah, it has all the security features you would expect on a, you know, enterprise grade, you know, workstation machine. All right, and then we'll go to startup menu. I think this is just your boot sequence, that kind of stuff. All right, so nothing much else. Let's go ahead and exit this and boot up. I believe they have Windows installed on this, so let's go ahead and do that first. Yeah, this thing is just really loud. I mean, I hope that changes as this thing boots up. And we're still at 227. Well, it jumped up. I guess it's booting up. So, all right, there's the Lenovo logo. We're at 260, 290, almost 300 watts. I mean, I certainly hope that gets a little bit better, because that's a lot of power to be consuming for. Oh, here we go. Okay, it's gotten a lot quieter. We've booted into Windows in a split second here. I didn't even see that thing boot up. But okay, this is good. Good news. It's gotten quieter. I can still hear it, but it's definitely gotten a lot quieter. So hopefully I don't have to yell. I was speaking a little bit louder than I normally would. But this is now, yeah, I can actually hear myself. So, and we're looking at 190. Okay, so this is a lot better. We're looking at 180 watts, jumping around from 90 watts to 180 watts. So definitely much better power consumption now. All right, so yeah, this is Windows. And okay, guys, I fully admit I don't really work with Windows much these days, so I'm a total noob at this stuff. I think for the subsequent videos, I'm probably going to put Linux on this thing and show you guys what you might be able to do with this in Linux. But this is what they gave me, so let's poke around a little bit with this thing. First thing, let's look at the task manager. And you know, I never understood why Windows Task Manager does this. It gives you the initial option is to show you nothing, or just kind of the apps that are running under your user. So you always have to click more. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but all right, let's look under performance. All right, so this, yeah, let's change this to logical processors. Wow, look at that. That's the 64, or is that, wait, I don't know, I can't count. Is that, no, that's 128, right? So it's 64 cores, 128 threads. Yeah, that's just insane. You know what? Hold on a second. I'm going to switch to the other camera so I can record the screen a little bit better for you guys, and hopefully you can see this a little bit better. So give me 1 second. All right, guys, I've got the screen being recorded by my other camera. It's actually my my phone camera there. So hopefully that gives you a little bit better view. Let's see here. So what else can we, so yeah, we can see the 32 gigs of RAM. Really, this probably needs a lot more RAM. All right, let me close that out. Let's go over here to device manager, I think. All right, so we can look at some of the devices here. Let's see. Realtek USB front speakers. Okay, not that interesting. Oh yeah, here's the Samsung. You know what? Let's look that up. I'm going to launch the browser here. Like I said, I think that. And get rid of that. What was that now? That was the MZVLB1T0 HPLR. Okay, that's this guy. So yeah. So I think I was right here. Get out of there. Yeah, this is a PCIe Gen 3. So that's really kind of a little disappointing. I would think that these machines would always be spec'd with a PCIe Gen 4 just to really take advantage of the platform being PCIe Gen 4. You know, and here's another thought. You know, I don't know that graphics cards, if you had a PCIe Gen 4 graphics card or GPU, do you really need 16 lanes? Like, could you not conserve some of that and just say have a PCIe Gen 4 by 8 and then save some of those PCIe lanes for other things like storage? You know, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys know if graphics cards that are Gen 4, do they really need PCIe Gen 4 by 16 bandwidth? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so this SSD doesn't seem like what I would, you know, if I were building this, would I put this SSD in here? No, I would probably go find a PCIe Gen 4 SSD. But anyway, let's keep looking around, see what we see here. The NVIDIA RTX 8000 Quadro is in there. What else is interesting? Network adapters. Okay, so that network port in the back, it looks like it is a Marvell 10 gigabit network card. So that's actually really cool. I wasn't really sure if that was going to be a 10 gigabit network card or not, and apparently it seems to be. So that seems really appropriate for this much compute power. Now, granted, we don't have a lot of I/O or storage, but if you fix that problem, if you have really high capacity, high speed storage, the compute power, the RAM capacity, you would expect that you want at the very minimum a 10 gigabit network adapter, and in fact they do include that. So that is pretty awesome. All right, so there's that 64 core ThreadRipper Pro 3995WX. I don't even know what to do with that many cores. What else do we see here? I just want to look at some of the hardware devices. The audio chip looks like a Realtek, so okay. And yeah, storage controllers, really not much to speak of. It's just the NVMe stuff. And this is just, yeah. Wait, hold on, don't move. Let's go to, I want to look at the SSD. Like I said, guys, I'm not really that familiar with Windows, but I'm kind of wondering if I can confirm whether this is PCIe 3.0 or not. Details, maybe. Do you guys know how to look up in Windows how many PCIe lanes a device is connected at and at what speed? That's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm not really sure how to look that up in Windows. If anybody knows how to do that, can you leave a comment down in the video so maybe I can learn a thing or two about Windows? So yeah, I don't really see anything that describes the link speed, the PCIe link speed. I don't know. What else is here? Yeah, I can't really tell how many PCIe lanes this is connecting at or at what link speed it's connecting at, but all right, guys. Well, anyway, just wanted to kind of give you guys an introduction to this machine. I think it's a pretty awesome this is basically taking AMD's EPYC, server platform and turning it into a workstation. And with a processor like this 3995 with the 64 cores and 128 threads, you could compete with a Intel dual socket system with just a single processor. And I think that's, pretty incredible. Also, Lenovo is currently, as far as I know, the only major brand that makes workstations to have released an AMD ThreadRipper Pro workstation. And I don't really know why like HP or Dell haven't done so yet, but you kind of have to give Lenovo some credit here for kind of being the pioneer in willing to take the risk to jump into this market with this processor and this platform. Maybe we'll see that from Dell and HP soon enough, but being the first in is, for a lot of large corporations, they can tend to be risk adverse, and to be the first one to do that is take some corporate leadership, and you need to give companies some credit for being willing to take that risk a little bit. So that is kind of cool. Although I think it still bugs me about the storage subsystem here, whether it's the lack of SAS controllers or even just NVMe U.2 slots or anything like that. That kind of still bugs me. So I feel like just out of the box, that's the one thing that is kind of really lacking in my opinion. But anyway, other than that, I think this is a really, really nice workstation machine. And again, kudos to Lenovo for sending me this machine with this spec. I really wasn't expecting that they would include the 64 core spec, and they did. And the RTX 8000 is also a pretty impressive piece of hardware that's in here too. So anyway, I will follow up this video with an install of Linux so that I can feel a little bit more comfortable here. I'm a little bit out of my elements when dealing with Windows stuff here, so I'm going to put Linux on this thing. We'll probably may run a few benchmarks. This machine was really designed for like a workstation use case. So like, design studios, engineering firms, that kind of stuff. But I don't know how many of those people are going to, watch my video to make any kind of purchasing decision. But I also think that this could be a great YouTube creator type of, video editing type of machine. And since I do a little bit of that myself, by no means am I like a professional at that, but I do some of that, and I do it in Linux. So I'm going to maybe kind of run this machine through some of that and using the software that I use to edit videos and just see kind of how it compares to my current setup, and see if maybe it'll tempt me to want to buy one of these machines for myself or not. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to kind of introduce you to this machine in this video. I'll have a couple of follow-up videos where we'll install Linux on this machine and maybe run it through its paces using some open source software and stuff like that. So anyway, I hope this was informative and hope you guys enjoyed it. So if you like this video, make sure to give me that thumbs up. And also, if you'd like to support my channel, go check out my eBay store. I've got plenty of server goodies out there for you guys, so go check that out. All right, have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.